What if the most talked about car in Monaco this year was not a Bugatti, not a Pagani, but a rebuilt wreck driven by a mechanic from Leicester? Act 1. The wreck that should not exist. Picture this. A Lamborghini Revuelto, Lamborghini's flagship hybrid V12. The car meant to represent the absolute peak of what the brand can build in the year 2026. Now picture that same car as a mangled, airbags deployed, insurance write-off husk sitting in a salvage yard. That is where this story actually starts. And the man who bought that wreck is not a Lamborghini technician. He is not a race engineer. He is a mechanic from Leicester, England, who started his channel filming BMX tricks before he ever picked up a spanner. His name is Matt Armstrong, and by 2026, his combined channels have grown into a 9.86 million subscriber operation with close to 1.5 billion total views. That is the scale we are talking about before we even get to the car. Matt's entire reputation was built on one format: buy something broken, rebuild it on camera, drive it somewhere that matters. That formula worked on his very first major project, a badly damaged Audi TT that he bought from insurance and rebuilt, a series that helped establish the entire format he is known for today. It worked again on a Bentley Continental GT purchased during a COVID lockdown, a build that helped grow his audience substantially, in which he later drove all the way to Monaco after finishing the restoration. It worked on a Maserati Gran Turismo fitted with a Liberty Walk body kit. Each of those builds followed the same emotional arc, wreck to hero, and each one ended with a road trip that proved the point. But nothing tested that formula like the Revuelto. This was not a fender bender. This was a hybrid supercar with a crash code locked into its battery module, a fault that Lamborghini technicians had already failed to immobilize properly, forcing Matt to send the car to an official Lamborghini dealership just to get the correct code released. Think about how backwards that sounds. The manufacturer's own service network could not simply clear its own car's fault code without routing it through an authorized channel, and even then the car came back drivable, but with random faults. That is not a small footnote. That is a car so electronically complicated that even the people who build it struggled to fully tame it. And yet Matt pushed forward anyway. That decision alone is where the drama begins, because rebuilding a normal supercar is hard enough. Rebuilding one of the most software-dependent hypercars on the planet, one where a single lock module can turn a multi-million-dollar machine into an expensive paperweight, is a different level of risk entirely. Act 2. Why Monaco was never just a drive. Here is the part people miss. Driving a rebuilt car to Monaco is not really about the destination. Monaco is the automotive equivalent of a courtroom. It is the one place on earth where every single supercar owner, every real one, and every fake one ends up parked outside the casino at some point, engines running, phones out, judging. You do not take a car to Monaco to relax. You take a car to Monaco to be tested in front of the harshest audience of enthusiasts, collectors, and content creators on the planet. So when Matt pointed his rebuilt Revuelto toward the south of France, he was not just going on a road trip. He was putting his entire reputation as a builder on trial, in public, in real time, with no edit button. And the trip itself nearly fell apart before it started. Once the Revuelto had returned from the dealership, it was drivable, but with random faults, buggy wipers, and button malfunctions due to the custom exhaust. And the very first leg of the journey toward Monaco saw the car enter limp mode randomly, at one point scraping a bus mirror on a tight pass. This is the tension that makes the story worth telling. A car this complicated does not forgive shortcuts. Every rebuild YouTuber loves to show the triumphant reveal, the clean paint, the perfect panel gaps. Almost none of them show what happens when the car glitches out on the way to the one event where it absolutely cannot fail. Matt showed it anyway. That is either reckless or it is the smartest content decision he has made in years. And honestly, it might be both. Consider the alternative version of this trip, the one that never happened. A safer creator would have trailered the car to Monaco, arriving spotless with zero risk of an on-camera breakdown. Matt did the opposite. He drove a car with an active fault history through multiple countries, in full view of his audience, knowing that a single major failure on a French motorway would have undone months of rebuild work in one embarrassing roadside clip. That gamble is the difference between content that gets watched once and content that gets remembered. Nobody remembers the trip that went perfectly. Everybody remembers the trip that almost did not happen at all. Act 3. The scale of what he actually pulled off. Let's put real numbers on this because the numbers are what turn this from a nice story into a genuinely wild achievement. This was not a short jaunt down to the coast. The build-up to this Monaco appearance was part of a wider Revuelto journey that eventually stretched across a 2,053-mile road trip, all in a car that Lamborghini itself had effectively written off as undrivable after the crash. Think about that gap for a second. On one side, you have the manufacturer's official position: this car cannot be safely started again. On the other side, you have a self-taught mechanic putting thousands of miles on it through multiple countries. That contradiction is the entire engine of this story. Either Matt proved Lamborghini's own service network wrong, or he got extremely lucky, and honestly, the truth is probably somewhere in between, held together by stubbornness and YouTube deadline pressure. And here is where the controversy actually lives, because the supercar community did not universally applaud this. Plenty of purists see stunts like this as reckless disrespect for an engineering marvel, a hybrid V12 hypercar treated like a used hatchback. Others see it as the most honest thing happening in supercar content right now, a refusal to pretend these machines are fragile museum pieces that only exist behind velvet rope. That split opinion is exactly why the Arrival clip spread the way it did. Nobody was neutral about it. Act 4. Why this beat the actual supercars in Monaco. Now here is the real argument of this video, the part that separates this from just another car influencer clip. Monaco on any given week is already flooded with genuinely rare machinery. Chirons, Valkyries, one-off customs that cost more than most people's houses. Against that backdrop, a rebuilt Revuelto should not stand a chance of getting attention. It should be background noise next to cars with waiting lists longer than most car loans. But it did not play out that way, and the reason is simple. Nobody in that square has a story. A brand new Chiron parked outside the casino tells you nothing except that its owner is rich. A rebuilt Revuelto that limped through limp mode, glitched its way across a continent, and still rolled up under its own power tells you an entire narrative in one glance. People do not fall in love with cars. They fall in love with what a car has been through. Matt's built history, the fact that this exact car was once considered dead, is the single piece of context that turns a static parking lot photo into a story people actually want to share. That is not luck. That is understanding attention better than most of the collectors standing next to him. Act 5. The business behind the drama. It would be naive to talk about this without talking about money, because this stunt was never just passion, it was strategy. Matt's estimated net worth sits somewhere around $2.1 million, with potential earnings pushing toward $3 million. Built almost entirely on this exact format of buying broken cars and documenting the fight to bring them back. Every single one of these Monaco appearances functions as a walking advertisement for that brand. It tells potential viewers, and frankly potential sponsors, that his rebuilds are not fragile garage queens. They are cars capable of surviving the harshest possible test, a multi-country trip ending in the most scrutinized parking lot in the world. That is the uncomfortable truth behind a lot of automotive content right now. The line between authentic passion project and calculated marketing stunt has almost disappeared. Matt benefits either way. If the car had failed publicly in Monaco, that footage would have gone just as viral as the car succeeding. There was no version of this trip that did not generate attention. That is either brilliant risk management or it is proof that these stunts are less about the car and more about guaranteeing a moment, and viewers deserve to think critically about which one they are watching. Compare that to how a traditional manufacturer handles a flagship reveal. Millions spent on choreographed unveils, closed sets, controlled lighting, zero room for anything unscripted. Matt spent a fraction of that budget and still walked away with a story that outperformed most manufacturer marketing simply because the risk was real. Nobody watching that Monaco clip believed for a second that the outcome was guaranteed, and that uncertainty is worth more in modern attention economics than any perfectly lit product shot could ever be. Act 6. What this really says about where supercar culture is heading. So where does this leave the traditional supercar world, the manufacturers, the dealerships, the collectors who spent decades building an image around exclusivity and untouchable engineering. It leaves them with a genuine problem. A guy with a socket set and a camera crew is generating more organic conversation about a Lamborghini than most of Lamborghini's own marketing campaigns manage in the same window. That should worry brand managers more than they let on. The audience for these cars is shifting away from people who simply admire them from a distance and toward people who want the mechanical truth, the failures, the fixes, the mileage. Matt Armstrong stealing the show in Monaco is not really about one road trip or one clip going viral. It is a signal. The next generation of supercar fans do not just want to see a Revuelto parked pretty under casino lights. They want to know what it took to get it there. Every limp mode warning, every buggy wiper, every late night in the garage. That honesty, messy and unpolished as it is becoming more valuable than perfection. And that is a shift the entire industry is going to have to reckon with, one viral Monaco arrival at a time. There is also a quieter lesson here for anyone building an audience in this space. Matt did not need the rarest car in Monaco to win the moment. He needed the most interesting one. Rarity is finite. There are only so many hypercars a manufacturer will ever build. But interesting is something anyone with enough patience and honesty can manufacture themselves. That is a far more repeatable strategy than simply buying the most expensive metal available, and it explains why a $9 million hypercar owner can post from the exact same square and still get outshined by a rebuilt wreck with a story attached. So next time a rebuilt car rolls up in Monaco, looking a little rough around the edges, do not scroll past it for the pristine hypercar parked next to it. That pristine hypercar has no story. The rebuild does. And in a world drowning in perfectly polished content, a story is the only thing that still stops the scroll. If you think Matt Armstrong actually stole the show, or you think this was all just clever marketing dressed up as passion, drop your take in the comments. Subscribe for more of the stories other channels are too polished to tell, and I will see you in the next one.